Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Sons of Sigmar and High Elves here on Borderlow Landing. It's going to be myself with Marcus Wolfhart facing off against Charix, who's going to be bringing in the new and improved High Elves here. Kind of using some new units. He does have the ship's company in the front, which are kind of like swordsmen. Let's actually compare them. So 7.5k HP, and my swordsman going to be rocking 8.2. So swordsman a little bit tankier than the Elves. Combat stat line is going to be 32, 32, 28, facing off against 30, 36, 30. So, okay, a little bit of a change up there, but these guys are contingent upon the martial prowess, of course. So, looking at my army here, it's going to be Marcus Wolfhart. He's very good against High Elves. If they're going Monster Mash, for example, any sort of, heroic characters that are big on dragons, he's going to be able to snare them down and do some good damage. And I'm actually a big fan of bringing the Amber Bow as well as the Focus Shot. I've noticed that a lot of Empire players usually just bring the net, but I actually like those sniping abilities. I think they can straight up win games if your opponent messes up. So, Swordsman and Spearman. And we do have a steam tank Volleygun. This thing is actually very, very underrated in my opinion. It does very good damage against single entities, but it's also good against multi-units, whereas the cannon variant obviously has longer range, and cannonballs are very good against heavier targets, but this thing can mow down infantry and cavalry alike. So I'm a big enjoyer of the steam tank Volleygun. Jade Wizard, obviously, if you're going to have the steam tank, you want to heal it. And aside from that, mortar wagons. Now, a lot of people perceive mortar wagons as meme units, but I can tell you from experience, mortar wagons are very good against any faction that's going to be bringing static archers. So if you're playing against High Elves or even infantry, if you're playing against High Elves, against Dark Elves with Dark Shards, whatever, I always like to bring one or two mortar wagons. I think they're very disruptive and very, very hard to shut down as well. So my opponent here, the Great Charix, is going to be using a skirmish corps of Valyrian Reavers, including the Heralds of the Wind. We do have the Gray, the Shadow Warriors. He always brings some cool stuff. And these guys are pretty good at counter-skirmishing Empire. If Empire comes in with Outriders or Pistoliers or any sort of traditional powder and or bow units, with 180 range and stock, these guys can pop out, they can ambush you, they can go stealth again. Very, very annoying to deal with. Aside from that, in the back, it's going to be a wide army ships company, basic archers here, and I think that's it. Yeah, and of course we do have the Archmage up in the sky of Shadows, who's going to be using Melkoths and Pendulum. Obviously Melkoths to punish the Empire Heavy Cavalry, like the Reiksguard Knights, Knights of the Blazing Sun, Empire Knights, whatever, you name it. So battle is up, and our Volleygun tank is going to be ripping some shots. He does get behind the tree before the shots are able to connect right there, but the steam tank Volleygun is pouring in the pressure and able to shoot through the trees a little bit and continue to get a couple more models. So we are going to get our back objective back, and the middle objective here is going to be secured very, very soon. And now the mortar wagons will be in range soon. Unfortunately, I can't see the Gray, and he is creeping back here with his Archmage of Shadows. So he is scouting the woods. Very, very good stuff, right? Because I could be hiding something back here, maybe trying to sneak to his back objective, but he is doing scouting while he is invisible. So right now, though I can see him, the Armor of the Stars has worn off, so homie is going to be visible here. And there is going to be a Melkoth getting dropped to my Empire Knights right there, while his archers now are opening up on my front line. But the mortar wagons of Sigmar are going to return the favor, so here they come, shooting downtown. And mortars actually, I think, are a decent tool, but of course, the problem is they're kind of easy to shut down. But look at that. I mean, that's great value. That's one, or two volleys technically, one from each of the mortar wagons. But yeah, if you just kind of keep switching targets like that, before you know it, your opponent's archer corps is going to be in trouble. Now, Charix is going to be using the new Lothern Skycutters, and he does have a mobile bolt thrower of his own, but here we do manage to net down the Archmage. We turn the steam tank Volleygun to put a little bit of pressure on, and Marcus is going to be using the Amber Bow first, taking a lot of HP off this bird, and then we have the Focus Shot as well. So Focus Shot's going to be locking in here. So this is what I'm talking about. This is great value. We're able to get a lot of value on that bird, and you can see it's dropped down to like 30%. Steam tank getting shot by some arrows, doesn't really care too much. 160 armor is 160 armor, and we are holding on to the objective while the Swordsmen of Sigmar are going to be fighting a losing fight versus the ship's company because they're injured. Normally, I think Swordsmen are more cost-effective from the Empire because they're not reliant on the martial prowess. But again, like every unit doesn't have to be the same as every unit for every faction, right? Elves typically have less HP than other factions, even humans, right? So, Steam Tank Volleygun is getting ready to rip some shots, and we are going to be shooting into the Skycutter. So the Volleygun in the front is getting some good value, and you can see the Skycutters are taking some decent damage here, as Marcus Wolfhart is going to be helping, and he's pretty accurate when they're not moving. And you can see we get some damage off. We haven't taken down too many of them yet. And at the back, I do call in some Hawk and Long Rifles. So Hawk and Long Rifles are quite good against Skycutters. They do have 260 range against the Skycutters who are 250. Not that a bolt thrower can really trade effectively with a long rifle, but even still, it's a good one for us. And now we call up some Empire Knights. My opponent going for my back objective, trying to get his swordsman over here and use his cav to skirmish me a little bit. But the Knights of Sigmar are not going to have it. And here comes the Barded Cavalry getting a nice charge, and Ship's Company and swordsman units in general hate getting charged by heavy cavalry. It's a pretty disastrous situation for them, but he did get some good damage using the Melkoths, and the battle continues raging on here, but in the backfield he does come back with his Archmage. He's going to be lurking in the shadows again while another Skycutter bolt thrower is out, and honestly they're doing pretty good. If I didn't have the Hawklands, if you had a better way of shutting down the Hawkland long rifles, his bolt throwers would actually counter my wagons. You can see the mortar wagons have already lost the model. They're having a relatively bad time, but we do also have the Volleygun tank, which is able to put some firepower back on. And I think for him, shooting at the Volleygun tank is a pretty big mistake. If he does do that, he's not going to kill it, and I'm just going to be able to heal it up with Earthblood, and it's basically just wasted value overall. So on the back, Spearmen holding back the ship's company, and the 2 state troopers just dealing with the skirmishers. So he's really harrying, trying to soften up my back objective. And you can see trying to dive into the backfield and get on top of the Hawklands. I do make the mistake of leaving my Hawklands a little bit too far up. Here we are going to be using our guns to wear down his archers, and the mortar wagons are getting a regrowth just to try and keep those models alive, but probably wasn't a good call, to be completely honest. So Volleygun tank moving back here, and we do see Illyrian Reavers going to be driving our backfield. We don't really have a lot to defend here, so we just start running. I don't have the resources right now. I only have 500 resources, so I can't call out another Empire Knight. So he does get a good shutdown here. Not that he's going to kill much. Maybe waver and or break this mortar wagon here, and it looks like it is going to be breaking, but not a lot of damage. Reavers don't do a ton of damage in melee, and the war wagons do, of course, have 80 armor. But my Empire Knights do pull back, and we're going to be using them to clean up these Illyrian Reavers. Back in the middle, we do see Charax grabbing the objective, so his archer is sitting pretty comfy, and 1, 2, and 3, a little bit bunched up. Really was wishing I had some magic there. So what we end up doing is charging in the Volleygun tank, and it's going to mow down a couple of these guys on the charge, and I figured the tank would be able to disrupt the archers and at least force them to run. And it looks like there is a little bit of fire support going into the tank now. Bolt throwers are going to be switching their focus fire onto the steam tank, which, you know, I think is something that I'm probably going to be able to heal through in general, but sometimes, you know, with enough focus fire, even from the archers, the job could get done. Greatswords called out, and the Greatswords do dispatch the ship's company. No surprises, floppy hats are greater than tall hats, and although I think ship's company don't wear any hats, that's probably why they lost the fight, but the Greatswords, with a little bit of support of the Empire Knights, should be able to push back the Narnia Alliance and make our way to the middle. And a big thing, of course, when you're pushed back like this, and I'm kind of focusing more on value, whereas he's pressing on objectives, and I am ahead on value, is, you know, you just don't want to lose your back objective. That's how you lose games. If he gets your back objective, you're going to start bleeding 3 victory chickens per second, and you're going to have a really bad time. But the steam tank actually taking some damage from the Spearmen and the War Lions of Krace and just 1,000,000 archer units. We do manage to break 1 Lothern Skycutter off the battlefield using our, I think Marcus was able to rip a shot there. And his wizard, where did his wizard go? I'm pretty sure it got popped in the face when we were commentating on something over here. Essentially, he ran his wizard over here, and Marcus was able to net it and snipe it with another focused shot. And we did end up killing his wizard, so apologies for missing that glorious shot there, but there was some pressing action on the other side. All right, Marcus Wolfhart fleeing around. Archers continuing to shoot. Earthblood going to be going down right here, healing up the steam tank as well as the Empire Knights. Empire Knights pretty good against War Lions. War Lions do okay against armor. They have good AP values, but their stats, you know, they definitely leave some, you know, territory for, you know, wanting higher stats against bigger targets. But they have that great bonus versus infantry, which of course makes them really good against like greatsword equivalents. But yeah, you'll see here like the Empire Knights and the War Lions will have a decent-ish fight, with the Empire Knights usually winning simply because of numbers, right? Narnia Lions only have 24 models, and the Empire Knights have 60, so they're going to be pretty good. Floppy Hat's also going to be surging forth, and I need to get on these objectives quick. It's getting really sketchy. So the Imperial Trooper is going to move up, and I do get a net coming in from Marcus Wolfhart. We do net down the Heralds of the Wind. We get a full charge on them, but Empire Knights have pretty limp noodle charges. So with only 30 weapon strength and not much melee attack, they don't just roll over those units. I was like, damn, I thought I was going to kill them right there. In the back, Border Wagon's back online, and the steam tank's getting a little bit low, but the archers are literally probably doing like 1 damage at a time. On the back objective, we see more infantry coming in, and also the Narnia lines rotating, so I do call in some grenade launchers. They're going to be launching the firepower of Sigmar. We'll see if that has the reach, and it looks like it does. We get a lot of HP damage. Grenade launchers are so freaking awesome. So they are able to butter the bread of those units relatively well, and in response, Charax does see this and is going to be detaching his Reavers to hunt me down. Very good choice there. Still not able to get back on the objective. We are up in value, and with healing taken into account, we're probably quite a bit ahead of our opponent, but he's not making it easy. Obviously, we all saw Charax win the recent championship. He is always a fearsome foe, even when fighting from, I would say in this situation, a little bit behind. Silverhelm's pushing in. Steam tanks hitting at 1,700 HP as the Bolt Thrower Skycutters continue shooting. Value on the Skycutters is about 1,500. It's paid for itself. They cost about that much. I think they're like 1,100, give or take, so they are getting there. Empire Knights running down the ship's company, as well as the Heralds of the Wind trying to shut down my grenade launchers, and both mortar wagons have come back online, which is great. And Greatsword's going to be surging forth. Unfortunately, their floppy hats do not give them missile resistance, but 95 armor is going to be helpful as they charge, and you can see a lot of arrows hopefully sticking in the plate, although that wouldn't make much sense. Mortar wagon shooting in and able to break one of the archer units. The firepower of Sigmar. Combined arms, baby. So getting in, archers are going to be running, and hopefully the Greatswords will be able to push these 2 units off the objective, while the Skycutter here is getting shot by Marcus, who still has a fair amount of ammunition. and the other greatswords are going to be getting attacked by the skycutters. Now, if you want to use skycutters to charge infantry, the best way to do it is to land them on the ground first and then charge. If you charge from the sky, their impacts aren't quite as good. So you can see the Haggard Eagles are going to be battling the greatswords here, and greatswords can't fight back terribly well against them, but if I'm able to get a net and lock them down, maybe we could. So Charek's diving really aggressively into the backfield, non-stop Narnia Lions and Cav units, and unfortunately for him, he hasn't been able to fully shut down the mortar wagons, and the steam tank is still really just squeezing value out at 2200 value now, which is about as much as it costs, so nothing crazy. So we do net down the skycutters, and the greatswords, are able to get through the 80 armor reasonably well. Skycutters do have 39 melee defense here, which is pretty high, but still we get the break, and the Lothern Skycutters taking damage from Marcus, as well as the greatswords and the Jade Wizard do get broken down there, so that is quite good. Greatswords fighting on the objective here, cutting through Silver Helms, and even though they are anti-infantry, they still have good AP, so they can take down armored cav units. In a straight sustained fight, like if a Silver Helm charges a Greatsword, they will lose. The Greatsword will win that fight. With cycle charging, the Silver Helms could obviously win it, but in sustained combat, if they're forgotten about or just left in a fight, the Greatswords will win that head up. So Archmage going for the Lord kill, which is a great idea. Empire is in a super high leadership faction. I mean, Greatswords are alright, they're 75 base, but the more rank and file units usually dwell around 60 leadership, so getting that break there is quite good. But you can see the back of the High Elves in my backfield has been broken. Their pressure is offline, and now we have Demogryph Knights with Halberds as well as Empire Knights who are going to be surging up, but the points are getting close. He's closing in on about 1,000 points here. Getting a little bit sketchy. Malkoth's Mystifying Miasma activated onto the Demogryph Knights, a great call. Going to slow them down and do a little bit of damage. As the Chad Floppy Hats move in, Charix is probably going to do everything he can to just hold the objectives for as long as possible and try and go for a points victory. He needs about 500 more points, which is a long, long time. But we're going to be planning for this, and eventually I will be calling in a bunch of state troopers here, so you can see I'm calling in swordsmen. I do also have some swordsmen here, and we are planning for the long game. I know I have some time, and I'm ahead on the battle, so we're just kind of doing the wide push, because I know it could come into a triple cap situation here. Demogryph Knight's going to be hunting down old Silver Helms, and they should be a pretty hard counter against them. Well, the Steam Tank didn't hear no bell. This thing's sitting at 2400 value, still ripping its shots there, getting attacked by Narnia Lions, but they're going to be dispatched very quickly by the Cavalry of Sigmar. Greatswords trying to push what they can off, and Charix is in mass cavalry mode, which is usually what you see in late game, when somebody's really just trying to control the field and keep you from getting where you want to go. Instead of sustainable capture weight via infantry, you're going to be seeing these type of pieces. So Demi's getting kited a little bit. Charix doing a great job. Every time, I think I'm going to get a charge, he kites me back with his Silver Helms, who have 92 speed against the 68 of these guys. So obviously tricky. It's smoke and mirrors. Their natural speed is much lower, 84, still very quick. But he also picks off my Jade Wizard, so really, really nice. Jade Wizard does get broken, potentially going to run off the battlefield. Demogryph Knight's going to be heading to the back objective, and we're looking pretty comfortable here. Swordsman chilling out. Mortar Wagon's still actually shooting. Mortar Wagon's going to be sitting at about 600 value, which isn't bad, honestly. They're very disruptive, and the thing about Mortar Wagons is you don't want to just look at just the pure value, right? With Mortar Wagons, you have to look at the battlefield value they give you in the sense of it made my opponent dive my backfield perpetually, which put him in a bad situation. The same thing goes for like the devotees of Slaanesh. For example, if you can get somebody to want to dive Slaanesh's backfield, they're going to take horrible trades probably. I still don't think they're going to be meta, but the principle is sustained. Silver Helms and Silver Helms versus Demi-Chads. Demogryph Knights, very favored in this. Silver Helms do lack the armor piercing, and also if they're not the ones getting the charge, they're going to have a really bad time. So the Demis, though, are heavily outnumbered here. There's 54 Silver Helms and 31 right here. Demis are picking off a lot of the models in the process, and the mortars are going to be providing some nice fire support. In the meantime, the Steam Tank, which is a decent battering ram in melee, its stats are very low, obviously. This thing is, I don't understand how the tank is tired, but maybe like the engines and everything else, the mechanical elements of the tank are like, getting worn down or damaged in battle. That's how I imagine Vigor affecting a construct like that. But Demis, yeah, still going, 20 models. And now the grenade launcher is going to be helping to wear some of those units off. And yeah, Demis do finally break, but not before they do some good work and help me secure that back objective, or get to the process of securing it. Now Charix, I did see him getting sneaky with some Reavers back here. Planning for his win condition as well. So in response, we're going to be calling in some greatswords over there, sending more state troopers to reinforce the middle, and we have a man-tide coming through the woods. So the Sons of Sigmar are moving through the tree line, being intercepted by some Silver Helms, but they're going to get broken back. It's only a matter of time. They're very low, they're wavering, and only have a couple thousand HP. Steam Tank's still going too, so I do have the Source of Terror nearby. Marcus Wolfhart and his grenades going to be shooting where they can, while the Chad swords are at -3 leadership. The Great Eagle and the shock charge of the Silver Helms able to break them down. A couple archers doing some work. Charix with a really sweaty micro too. I was targeting these guys with the mortar wagons, and he was dodging back and forth to avoid the mortars, but some of them do hit home. They fire so many mortar shots that it's kind of hard to just micro against them. You can a little bit, but it's not like Queen Bess or like a Dreadquake mortar where you can really avoid that. So he does win on just the one objective right now, but if I flip this objective for even like 30 seconds, he will not be able to do that, and I will be able to close it out here. So we have 3 state troopers right here, and on the back objective, we do have great swords as well as spearmen heading to that point, so those homies are going to be chilling out over there, and the Reavers are just kind of looking for opportunities to cheese an objective, which is very smart, looking for what they can grab. Meanwhile, Marcus Wolfart's going to be battling the Archmage here, having a relatively bad time, but now we do win on just the 2 objectives, so we don't necessarily have to hold all 3, but we can. We have a good enough value lead, about 4,000, and our faction has healing, or we brought healing. Of course, High Elves do have healing, but we were the only ones who brought it this game. So our friggin' Volleygun tank is still going strong, sitting at almost 3,000 value, which is great. But they're very expensive. I think Volleygun tanks are like 23 or 2,400, so it's not like it's like some obscene amount of like overperforming. But you know, it's a damage sponge too. Like your opponent can dump a ton of value into a steam tank, and it's going to live, and it's going to be a terror source in the late game, and just a very, very tanky, difficult thing to get rid of because it's quite literally a tank. So we got the middle objective. High Elves are pressing the state troopers in the back, but the swordsmen should be able to hold for a period of time. And yeah, we got 2 swordsmen here. We got some spearmen. It's not going to be an easy grab for him, and the mortar wagons will be providing a little bit of fire support as we get silver bullets in here. So silver bullets are on the way in. Marcus Wolfart probably going to be dispatched by this Great Eagle. He's trying to get away here, but he is getting pecked in the face, sitting at 99 HP. And Marcus is going to be dispatched by the bird. So there he goes. No, the bird misses. If memory serves in this game, he does end up getting it. But now you can see the points are very close. I basically caught him on points, and it's going to be very tricky for him to come back from here. Essentially, you know, yeah, there's really not much of a chance. I mean, he's got a little bit of pressure on the back, might be able to get that one there, but the state troopers are holding very firmly. And the swordsmen do pretty well against the ship's company in my experience, with a little bit more HP. I don't know who wins in a straight 1-to-1 fight. The swordsmen are cheaper though too, so I think that makes them slightly more cost effective. But High Elves are much better in other departments, right? They have like better, they have better archers. They have like very, very viable monster core. So it's not that like High Elves shouldn't be as good as every other faction, and vice versa. That's what makes this game really unique. Is that you don't like every faction. It's not like Age of Empires where every faction has a swordsman or a spearman. They do different things, and I think that's what makes the meta so interesting for me, and just seeing the polarity of how different units perform in different factions. For example, if you put like an Empire State Trooper against like a Chaos, Marauder of Nurgle or Khorne or whatever, right? It's going to be a big discrepancy in terms of performance, but then again, Khorne and Nurgle don't have access to many of the tools that Empire has, right? So it's quite a bit of fun. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it. The High Elves do get their back objective back here, but victory for Reichland and for the Sons of Sigmar. So a big thing, a couple things bonus that game. Obviously, sniping the wizard early on was huge, shutting down the sky cutters with our counter shooting. Having the steam tank live and having him dump a lot of value into it, like he probably had like 3,000 plus value sunk into the steam tank, and it lived. So that was a big problem for him. But the bolt thrower is 1,700 value, and the other one only got 800. But if they had both gotten 1,700, one of them had lived a little bit longer, could have been a sketchy game. So GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and can't wait to see you guys in some tournaments. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Marcus at 2,700 value on Marcus. Damn, son. Mortar Wagons did good. Steam Tank here. Marcus Wolfart, an absolute pimp that game. He did great work. He's such a good lord. I'm a big Marcus enjoyer. And yeah, his Shadow Wizard, despite being summoned twice, did pretty good at 2,900. And the Bolt Throwers obviously did nice, and Narnia Lines are always decent performers there. All right, guys. See you around. Take care of yourselves, and well played to Charix.